We got business to tend to, so anything happened last night? Everybody good? Everybody's communicating with you? Y'all been very patient, so I appreciate y'all's attention. Call your witness, please.
Jody Durney.
Swear or from the testimony. Have a seat up there, ma'am. Once you're seated, state your full name, spelling your last.
Jody Durney, Durney.
Pick up there like that.
Jody, do you work anywhere right now?
I do.
Where do you work?
At Key Choice Home Health Care.
And what do you do with them?
I provide health care as a CNA.
How long have you been doing that?
I've been there for 6 months.
Prior to that, did you provide child care for the Jones children in 2011?
I did.
Can you kind of tell me how that came about, please?
I ran ads on Craigslist and Facebook, and he responded to an ad.
And initially, where did you provide the child care at?
In my home.
At that point in time, you only had the 4 children, correct?
Correct.
Mira, Elias, Natan, and Gabriel?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall approximately what times you had them at your home?
Tim usually dropped him off at 7:30, and he was there by 6.
Was he punctual?
Yes, he was.
How about when he dropped the kids off, did he drop off the diaper bag?
Yes.
Can you kind of tell me about that?
Well, he did like what a parent would do. He provided their diapers and their wipes, their clothes. If Gabriel was usually the only one that would soil pants or whatever, I'd put him in a plastic bag. He'd take the plastic bag out, put fresh clothes in. It was always tidy, and anything that was used was replaced.
When they came, did he bring them with snacks?
He did.
Now, when they stayed at your house, did you provide certain meals to them?
I did.
What meals did you provide?
Breakfast and lunch.
How about toys? Did he bring toys with him?
He did.
Was there a particular one? You have something with a driveway?
Yeah, my driveway was slanted and it was also circular, so they had little riding toys that they could get on that would pick up speed.
When you say they, who's that?
Eli and Natan, Mira also. Gabriel was, of course, still a little bit too young for that, or too small for that kind of toy.
Did the children appear to enjoy that?
Oh gosh, yes, they loved it.
And at some point, did that daycare at your home end?
It did.
Can you tell me about that, please?
I wound up slowing down. I was going to try to slow it down, just get out of it altogether. I wanted to go back to school to pursue health science. Tim had left and was going to try to make things work with his wife. And just a few weeks after that, he wound up coming back and asked me to reconsider that things did not work out with them, and that it asked me if I'd come to his home and watch the kids.
Can you kind of tell me, when he told you that things didn't work out, can you tell me about that conversation with him?
I don't remember the details of it, but just that I know he was very upset. He really wanted the relationship to work out. We never really discussed it in a year and a half of prior to them talking. I didn't even realize that was a possibility that he would go back, because he was a pretty strong person and parent. I remember worrying when he told me that he was going to go back to her slightly, but it was not my personal business to get involved. So I just remember him saying that, he was going to go back. And then when it failed, he came back and he was obviously very upset.
When he told you that he was getting back together with her, how did he appear?
Very happy. He was He was ecstatic. I remember the day he was grinning ear to ear.
Did you have any type of social relationship with Tim?
No,
Was it just professional?
just professional.
Was Tim a socially awkward person?
I suppose he was just more parental, and he never changed. You know, like Tim was always what you see is what you get. He wasn't never. I don't know. It was just like he wasn't a happy person. He didn't volunteer anything extra. Our time was so limited, like as far as dropping off and picking up. So that was really the only time that I got. And the time, you know, maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks, it would go past that where he might discuss something with Amber, or maybe something like with this church, you know, something extra that didn't involve me babysitting.
Did you ever see anything that led you to believe that Tim was using drugs?
No,
He ever talked to you about hearing voices?
no,
He ever talked to you about his mother?
no,
He ever tell you, or you ever see anything that made you think that he was afraid of his children?
no.
We need to ask you also, you got a conviction for shoplifting in 2013,
I
correct?
do.
And then forgery also in 2013?
Yep,
Petty larceny in 2015,
yep,
and an obtaining signature of property by false pretenses in 2015 and 2017. Right?
yep.
Did you, the ones you ended for, you said that he had ended the daycare or coming to you and then came back and asked you to keep the kids again.
Correct.
What was your initial thought about that?
Initially, I didn't want to do it, but I was trying to go back to school. I mean, obviously, I've had some things go on, so I'm trying to, you know, I've steadily been trying to make changes for years.
Did he talk you into coming back?
He did. It wasn't hard because I loved kids. I really enjoyed being around the kids. Plus, it would just kind of, you know, I wasn't going to be in my home. It was like a normal job. Just leave my house, go to work, come home.
When the things didn't work out with Amber, was he upset? Was part of that because she was pregnant again?
No, I think he was ecstatic about the pregnancy. He was happy.
And so you ended up, I guess, watching the kids the summer of 2013.
Yes, sir.
Was that back in your house?
No, that was in his home.
And so you had the 4 children then, and then was
And the baby, yep.
Do you recall kind of the times that you would go over there?
Same times, nothing changed. I was over there at 7 o'clock in the morning, and when he got in is when I would leave, which was usually by 6:30.
Can you describe Tim as a father from what you saw?
Tim was an amazing father. He was an amazing father. I can't begin to, I've met a lot of parents. I am a mom, and I can just say in taking care of my own kids, I remember having to hustle up in the morning and get them off to school and get the trash taken off and get myself to work or get my husband to work or go to school myself, and trying to do everything and have it done by a certain time in the morning is kind of hard. You know, then when it's, you know, when you clocking out of work and have to pick back up to that mom again, you're cooking and cleaning and washing clothes, and that is the parent that Tim was. Tim was amazing.
How did he interact with the children?
He was wonderful. I know there's so many things that I can recall that I remember that he did with those kids on a weekly basis.
Such as what?
He would take them skating. He would take them to church. Any opportunity that he had to be a parent to them was just like any of ours. And he took advantage of every opportunity. I mean, school functions, church, you know, the skating, camping, hiking.
Did the kids appear to enjoy that?
They did.
Did you ever see Tim interact with the kids as far as any type of discipline?
I did.
Can you tell me about that?
Yeah. As far as the discipline, usually he would just take away things that made him happy, like those ride-on toys. You know, if Tim came to my house and he was upset because of the report card, he would come in and he would pick it up himself and remove it and say, you know, you don't ride that tomorrow. You know, something like that. I mean, he would just take away something that, or like if they were going to go skating on Wednesday, this one wasn't going to skate.
And that's how he would handle it?
That's exactly how he handled it.
Did you ever see any bruises on the children?
Nope.
Would you have had an opportunity?
I would have.
Was there any point in time that they would be outside during that summer, running around in the sprinkler?
Yes, sir. He purchased a slip and slide and a swim pool, sprinkler, and they played that summer outside a lot in the backyard at his house, and I was obviously out there with them.
So you would see them without?
Absolutely, in their trunks, and yeah.
Never saw anything that made you have any concern?
No.
Now, I think you told me the kids would play pretty hard, wouldn't they?
They did.
Something about Elias wanting to do something with the vent?
He always threw his toys in the vent. That was only at Tim's house. He didn't do that at my house. He would throw his toys in the vent, and then he wanted to stick his hand down there and try to get it. And I just recall at least one time with me anyway, he got his hand down in there, and it took 15 minutes to get the vent cover off his arm. You know, just little things like that. But even that didn't leave a bruise.
When you were over at Tim's house, what was the condition of his home?
His home was immaculate.
Was there sufficient food there?
There was.
Did he ever take the kids out to get something, any type of treats?
Yeah. I mean, they did normal things. You know, he'd take them to McDonald's. He'd take them, you know, to Sonic's and get little drinks. And he did the normal stuff, you know.
Would they eat when they were at the house with you?
Yeah. We all ate all day.
How about, did they have kind of a favorite snack?
They did, and Tim provided those.
What was that?
Well, the number one thing, at his house was the smoothies. He had
When you say smoothies, what do you mean?
the smoothies that you drink,
And what would he
fruit smoothies.
provide for that?
Well, the milk and frozen fruit bags.
And so you would make those for the kids?
Mm-hmm. They would help make them.
Just kind of overall, can you just tell me what kind of father he was?
Overall, Tim was better than your average parent. He was probably a better parent than I've been.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Thank you.
Good morning, Ms. Durney.
Good morning.
Just a few questions.
Okay.
When you spoke to law enforcement after the children were killed, I believe it was Detective Dykes that came to speak with you. One of the questions he asked you was whether Timothy Jones appeared to have any type of mental illness or mental defect to you. And what was your response to that?
No, he did not appear to have any kind of mental illness.
And so in your interactions with him leading up to the summer of 2013, you had a chance to communicate with him pretty much on a regular basis that summer.
Yes, briefly, when he would drop the kids off and pick them up.
It was just a business relationship.
Yes, ma'am.
But when you did have the opportunity to communicate with him, he always appeared to understand those communications, right?
Yes, ma'am.
He was able to converse with you in a clear and rational manner, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And he never appeared to be afraid of the children.
No.
You never had any reason to believe that he was mentally unstable, right?
No, ma'am.
Let me focus.
Jump down.
What was that detective's name? Dykes.
Call Ruby Durney.
My name is Ruby Gail excuse me, Durney, Durney.
How are you doing, Miss Durney?
I'm good.
Do you work anywhere right now?
No, sir, I don't.
And who is Jody Durney to you?
She's my daughter-in-law.
Did you also provide child care with her to the Jones children?
Yes, I did.
And can you kind of tell me how that came about?
We ran ads on Craigslist because we opened up a in-home daycare. And Tim came to us because he had the 4 children at the time. And the reason why he came to us because we was in the area where his children went to school.
Would you sometimes drop the older children off at school?
I would take them to school and I would pick them up after school.
And was there did Tim have a concern about splitting the kids up as far as 4 children?
No, because he wanted all his kids to be together. He didn't want to put the older 2 in after-school daycare and we keep the younger 2 because he wanted all of his children to be together.
When Tim dropped the children off, was he punctual?
Punctual as could be.
Did he bring all the necessaries with him?
Yes, he did. He brought Gabriel's diaper bag that had everything that Gabriel needed in it. He brought after-school clothes for the children to change their school clothes in, and he brought extra clothes for Ton in case he needed them if he had an accident.
Can you just kind of tell the jury overall what kind of father was Tim?
Tim was a very good father from the time that we had them kids, and I never had no problem with communicating with Tim. If he was my children's father, I would have him as my child's father. And he was very punctual with his kids, and his kids loved him. When he would pick them up at 6 o'clock or 6:30, depending on the traffic, they were glad when their dad walked in the house. And one favorite thing that I remember about Ton was he came in one morning and he told me, he says, Miss Ruby, he says, my dad took me to Walmart and he bought me some man spray. And we looked at him and we said, Tom, what in the world is man spray? He said, you know that stuff you put under your arms? But he was a very good father. And I would never say this really was very surprising because I would never think that anything like this would happen because my daughter-in-law smoked and one of the other girls that worked with us in the daycare smoked. And he brought it to our attention. He says, I don't smoke in my home. I don't smoke. And if y'all do smoke, please smoke outside, not in the home around my children. And therefore they did. They smoked outside.
He seemed pretty protective of his children?
Yes, he was very protective of his kids.
Did he ever talk with you or open up to you about his problems with Amber?
Well, we have talked with each other about Amber because he would ask me, he said, you know, he says, their mother would call me and ask me to make arrangements so that she could visit and see them. And I would tell the kids we're going to go see their mom. Then when we would go to meet her, she wouldn't never show up. Therefore, it would get Eli and Mara really upset because Ton and Gabriel was a baby. He was still about 4, 5 months old. And Eli, you know, he would tell his dad, why don't Mama show up when she comes to see us? And he says, hon, I can't explain why your mama's like that, but it's going to be okay. Things are going to get better.
Did that appear to upset mainly, I guess, Mira and...
Yes, the older 2, because they could understand it more.
How about Natan?
Ton, it really didn't affect him a lot because he had his dad, and his dad, you know, gave them a lot of attention and all. But Amira, I really think it hurt her a lot because her being the only girl, and you know how daughters want their mothers, and therefore, you know, she was with dad and 3 brothers. But
did you ever go with Tim to take any of the children to counseling?
I did. The only one that was going to counseling at the time was Tim and Eli. I went with him to 2 sessions because he asked me if I would go, and I told him I would. And the sessions went good with him and Eli. I never did go in the rooms to hear their conversations. But when he had something that was going on with them, he had asked me if I would accompany him and I told him I would.
Did you ever see anything that would have led you to believe that Tim was using drugs?
No, sir, because he wasn't even smoking, and he definitely didn't drink.
Or did he ever tell you about hearing voices?
No, sir, he did not.
He ever tell or did you see anything that indicated that he was afraid of his children?
That he was afraid of his children? No, sir, because him and his children were very close.
Did he ever talk to you about his mother?
No, sir, he didn't. He did his dad. He talked a lot about his dad, but
Not his mother?
not his mother.
Kind of overall, what kind of a dad was he?
He was a good dad. He was a very respectable dad with his children, and I don't think anybody could go wrong if he was the father of their kids.
Thank you. No further questions.
Ms. Durney, what time periods was it that you were involved with Mr. Jones and his children?
You talking about the length of time or the hours?
Both times. Were you involved in the 2011 time?
Yes, sir. From the time that Tim Jones' kids were with us, yes, I was.
And then also the summer, I guess it was just the summer of 2013?
The whole time of 2012 and 13, I was working at the time when my daughter-in-law went back to his home to take care of the children.
So when was your interaction? When was your last interaction, I guess?
My last interaction with Tim was, let's see, 11, 12, right at the middle of 2013.
So the summer of 2013?
Because when we moved the in-home daycare where we were at first on Old Barnwell, we moved over there off Nazareth and the subdivision there because it was a bigger place. And we had them there. Then when we closed the home down, the daycare part down, I went back to my job, and that's when Tim came to my daughter-in-law and asked her if she would please come to the home and take care of the kids because he knew they were in good hands with her.
And you never saw any signs of any kind of mental issues?
No, sir, there wasn't. Not as far as problems between him and his children, no. And there was never none spoke of. Now, I know when Tim took me with him to the 2 sessions with him and Eli, he said he was taking Eli because Eli was having problems dealing with his mother not being there.
Sure. And that was the last contact you had with him?
That was the last times that I went with him to their sessions.
But the summer of 2013, I guess, is the last time that you saw Tim Jones?
Yes, it was.
Last time you talked to him. So if he started using drugs after that, you don't know anything about it?
No, sir, I don't. But the way he was against, smoking cigarettes or alcohol of any of that, I cannot say that he did, and I can't say that he didn't. I never seen no activity of him using drugs or what would, occur, because I have been around people that have been on drugs.
Yes, ma'am.
And my daughter taught me how to look and be aware of the signs.
And you didn't see anything in
I
him?
did not see nothing like that in him at all.
But after the summer of 2013, you don't know what happened?
No, I do not, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
All right, you may step down, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you can get for him. Take that one. That's good. Hmm?
Jody, it's called Chrystal Ballentine.
Chrystal Ballentine. Come forward, Miss Warren.
solemnly swear or affirm testimony about the shall be the truth Once you're seated, state your full name, spelling your last.
My name's Chrystal Ballentine, ChrystalBallentine.
Thanks, Crystal. Take deep breaths. Okay. You all right?
Yeah.
All right. Can you tell me about when you first met Tim Jones?
I met him through Tammy. He was supposed to be just babysitting, but turned into more.
So you started babysitting him around the end of 2013, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And about when did y'all's relationship sort of turn into more?
Probably about a month after I was there.
Okay. And at that time, did you move in with him?
Yes.
And you had your daughter with you?
Yes.
And y'all all lived together with Tim and his kids?
Yes, sir.
Was that about the same time that Elaine came to live with you?
Yes. She came roughly about 2 months after I was there. She showed up and I took care of her as my own. She was only like 4 months old at the time.
Were you there when Tim actually got Elaine from Ms. Kaiser?
I wasn't. I don't think I was with him. I might have been in the car, but he went in and got her himself.
Did he bring back any diapers, bottles,
Mm-mm.
diaper bags?
She came with nothing but herself and the clothes that she had on.
So, for the first 12 months, how was y'all's relationship?
It was all right. I mean, it was decent. He took care of us, and
This is during the words Mira and Eli were in school,
yes, sir.
and then you had Natan, Gabriel, Elaine, and Trinity at the house with you.
No, Natan was going to school too.
Okay.
It was just Gabe and Elena and Trinity.
Okay. And so what did y'all do all day?
I'm sorry, what?
What did y'all do all day?
Oh, just normal stuff, playing, chores, stuff like that. It was just little kids, so they didn't really do anything.
Did you keep the house clean?
Yes, sir.
Did you cook?
Yes, sir.
Did Tim seem to appreciate that?
Yes, sir.
In the February of 2013, did Tim start to change?
Yeah, he got more stricter, more controlling. He wanted things done his way. A lot of things changed. He didn't want me to dress the way I did. He didn't want me to. He was just really controlling over a lot of things.
Were you going to church with them?
Yes.
And can you tell the jury what church was like?
It was speaking in tongues. It was Holocaust. I don't know if it was called Holocaust. I'm not exactly sure.
Pentecostal?
Pentecostal. There we go. It was where you speak in tongues. It was a decent church, all in all.
Would people like fall out and roll around?
Yes.
And that was sort of a common occurrence at the church.
Yes.
And they had rules about how women should dress.
Yes.
And what were those?
Dresses go below the knee. Covering yourself. I mean, it was really mostly about manners and how you respect yourself.
And did Tim want you to dress that way?
Yes.
Did y'all go to places to buy dresses?
Yes.
And can you tell ladies and jury, like, what was that like? What was going on?
It was what he wanted. He would let me have some choice in certain dresses, but it was all dresses and mostly his decision on them. If he agreed onto it, then yes.
Did he start talking to himself?
Not, he would mumble things like what most people would, like, oh, dang, I forgot something, stuff like that. But it wasn't nothing out of the ordinary.
And you gave a statement in this case, right?
Mhm.
You gave a statement to law enforcement,
Yes, sir.
and that was on the September the 9th of 2014, right?
Probably. I'm not 100% sure.
It was after the kids were missing.
Yes, sir.
And I don't know if you knew that they had been found at that point in time.
No, I didn't. They kicked in my door at 3 a.m. They didn't tell me anything. They said they were still searching for him. They woke up my kids, looked at them, and everything. They didn't tell me one word.
Okay. Have you reviewed your statement that you gave to law enforcement?
I can't read it. My eyes, I'm legally blind. I can't see small handwriting, and it was the officer who wrote it.
Okay. The officer wrote it for you at your request?
Yes, so I'm pretty sure most of it's true. I mean,
Now, if the officer wrote February 2013, Tim started talking to himself, he would have had conversation with himself. That was something that you said?
no, there was times where he was talking in the room. It sounded like he was talking to himself, but he always had his phone. It was more like he was talking on the phone.
Okay. You said sometimes he would talk to himself about what he needed to do and what the kids needed.
Yeah, that was him mumbling, oh, I forgot this, or he'd be like, oh, I need to get, just the stuff that a lot of people or parents or anybody does. When you're frustrated or mad, you'll sit and be like, oh, I forgot this, or, oh,
You said it was like someone said something and he would answer them.
I wouldn't quite say that. He wasn't like answering himself in that type of category. He would say stuff, but it was mostly things he needed to do or things that he was mad about. Oh, I wish you'd change this, stuff like that.
So
And he
if
was
the
mumbling as he was walking away.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Keep going.
So if the officer wrote down, it was like someone said something and he would answer them, the officer got it wrong. That's not something you said.
Mm-mm. No, sir.
Your testimony is that that's not something you said.
No, sir.
It said, and then there was an incident around March of 2013 where you heard two different voices coming from his room.
That's what it sounded like. I don't know if he was on the speakerphone or what was going on. It did sound kind of like there was two different voices, but it could have been him on speaker. I'm not 100% sure on that.
So if the officer wrote down he wasn't on the phone and it wasn't a TV and there were two voices coming from a room and he was in there by himself, the officer would have gotten that wrong.
Yes, because it wasn't, he always had his phone. And I don't know, I was locked out of the room. It could have been him on speakerphone. Honestly, I've never seen him have any kind of symptoms of being insane in any kind of way.
Okay. And that was your statement in September of 2014. That was right after everything happened,
Yes.
right?
Yes, sir.
At the end of your statement in 2014, you said he started acting like he had mental problems.
No, after I left, he did have categories where the place was a mess. He looked kind of rough, like he had a stained up shirt, grown out his beard. He didn't, he was acting off. But I don't know if it was insanity. I don't know any of that. I don't think it was. I think he was just overstressed.
Okay. So you never told the officer that he started acting like he had mental problems?
No.
And you never told the officer he started talking to himself and acting obsessed about the kids studying everything?
He was obsessed with them studying. He was very much on wanting them to make sure they did something with their life. And the times, as I said, with him talking to himself, it was more of him mumbling things that he needed to get done, or this and that. It wasn't him having a conversation with himself or
answering somebody?
Yeah.
You're saying it wasn't?
Yeah, it wasn't like he was answering himself or anything.
So you wouldn't have told an officer that it was like somebody
No.
who was answering somebody? Do you recall when y'all broke up?
I'm not exactly sure. I know I came back from friends and we got in an argument and I just wound up leaving. It was, I don't know, roughly about 6 months or so after.
Okay, so did you send Tim an email in June of 13 saying, sorry to bother you, I can tell you don't want to talk to me no more, I'll leave you alone. I guess that means you don't want me to go to your church or call you ever again. So sorry, Tim, I don't know how to prove I'm sorry. I wanted us to still be friends. I didn't know this was gonna happen. I wish you'd just talk to me and say something, just anything, let me know that you read this email, and I won't bother you again. Does that sound right?
That probably is. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure it probably is something around it.
Okay.
Because I know he got to where he didn't want to talk to me and stuff, you know.
After y'all broke up and you moved out in, I'm gonna guess it was around June of 2013, is that right? At some point in time, you came back to the house?
Yeah, I came back to visit the kids and stuff, and then one time he got me a ride from taxi, and I went over there one night to hang out with him. But other than that, no.
And what was the house like when you went back over there?
When I went back to see the kids, it was after the time I went over there for the night to just spend time with him. It was kind of a wreck. He was kind of a wreck. It was,
I mean, it was a mess.
yeah, he had trash that was overflowing. He had stuff everywhere, dishes piled up.
And I think you already told us a little bit about how he looked.
Yeah, he was pretty rough. His shirt was stained up. He had like a white T-shirt on. It was stained up. He didn't shave. His hair was already grown out and stuff. He was looking pretty rough, and he's normally clean cut. You know, it wasn't normal.
That was unusual.
Yes.
And did you help him with the house? What did you do?
Yeah, I went and started helping him clean up, and then me and him talked some in his room, and then I wound up leaving shortly after that. I was already with another man at the time, and he was sitting out on the porch. He had to sit out there while I was in there helping him and everything, and that was the last visit that I had with him.
Did you leave to go get some food for the house?
I think I went and got 2 Little Caesar pizzas and brought it back to feed the kids, but yeah.
But no groceries.
Yes.
And then you met with some people from the solicitor's office in March of 2019. Is that right? Earlier this year.
Might have.
Do you recall
I mean,
who you met with?
In March.
Yeah.
I think it was the lady and gentleman right there.
Miss Mays.
Yes.
And was Mr. Martin back there with her?
Yes, Mr.
And is that when you told him that you didn't know if Tim was on the phone or not, and when you heard the 2 voices coming from the other room?
I mean, I don't know. I was locked out of the room, but it very well could have been. I'm not 100% sure.
But of course, daughter. One second. Chris, I'm going to show you what's been marked as 267. I know is that your signature down there at the bottom?
Yes. I do remember signing it.
Is this your signature on the second page? Is this your signature on the third page?
Yes.
During the time we were offered, there was 267 in them.
Your Honor, I don't believe it comes in at this time, I think that there's a specific portion that he wants to have the witness refresh her memory with, we can do it that way. I don't think there's been a proper foundation for admitting the statement.
To deny the statements that are in here, and I think it should come in.
Pushing her about it.
It did. To deny me.
She would have the opportunity to review the statement, Your Honor. She has not done that.
She said she can't read it.
Yeah, because of my eyes. I'm considered legally blind. I went to school for deaf and blind.
Two 67 is in. Subject to the objection, but
And that's all the questions I have at the time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So,
Ms. Mays.
And Ms. Ballentine, I'm going to show you that document, which was just admitted, I believe, Defendant's Exhibit 267, just so you'll have it here in case you need to refresh your memory.
okay. Mhm.
I want to start by clearing up the time frame. I believe when Mr. Young was asking you questions just a few moments ago, he indicated that you, or I think his question was, that you worked for the defendant at the end of 2013, but it was actually the end of 2012.
That sounds a little bit more like it, probably.
And Chrystal, how old were you then?
I was 17.
Okay, and
Just turned 17.
if you could pull that microphone up
Oh.
a little bit closer to you,
Sorry.
all right? So it's the end of 2012. Does October 2012 sound right?
Yeah, it was around right when I turned 17.
All right. And at that point in time, you were a single mom. You
Mhm.
already had Trinity. And
Ma'am.
you were looking for a job as a babysitter.
Yes, ma'am.
And you learned about the defendant needing a babysitter, I think you said from your friend Tammy Montz.
Yes, ma'am.
And so around October, you began keeping the children.
Yes, ma'am.
And this was before Abigail, also called Elaine, was born.
Yes, ma'am. It was roughly, she was about 3 going on 4 months when we got her.
So start around October, but by December, just that 2-month period, the relationship had already changed, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're now not only dating him, but he wants you to move in with him.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were 17, he was going through a divorce at the time, correct?
Yes.
And when you moved in with him, did it begin right away as a full relationship?
You could say that. It was kind of just sexual at first. It wasn't really a relationship. I was just the babysitter, and then it kind of turned into more where I was sleeping in his room at night, and things like that.
All right. Now, during the daytime, when he would go to work at Intel, who would usually be home with Natan?
I was the one that was home with the children and got them onto the bus and off of the bus in the evening.
All right. What concerns, take us through the concerns that you had for the children, Chrystal, once you started living in that home?
His discipline, the way he would whip them, you could hear it through the walls. He would take them to the bathroom. The way he made them do exercises and standing on his tippy toes in the corner. He finally moved to that after we argued so much about his discipline actions. He wound up moving to just like exercises, tippy toes in the corner. I don't,
When you say that eventually you started arguing about it, it's because his discipline became excessive.
yes, ma'am.
And when we talk about excessive, you were actually seeing bruises on the children.
Yes, ma'am. On their back end, on their legs, going down their legs. Of course, they probably was moving because you could hear it through the walls. He was hitting them pretty hard.
And what tone of voice would he be in when he would be disciplining the children?
Very angry. You could tell he was over angry. He should have calmed himself down before he took discipline actions.
When you would hear these things happening, is there anything that the children could do or say to make them stop?
They would ask them to please stop. I could hear it, and I couldn't do nothing about it because every time when me and him would get into it about it, he would say they're his kids, which they were, and it caused a lot of conflict.
And then eventually, was there something that you witnessed with Mira?
Yeah, with the bruises down her legs and all, it was her and Natan. I think they were playing around, and Natan busted the window. He didn't mean to. He fell, and he busted the window, and he whipped him pretty hard, and then they had to stay on the corner on their tippy toes all day long. And
About Mira, Ms. Ballentine, I know you addressed it in your statement. That's an evidence. But was there a time that you witnessed something happen with her? You could hear something happening with her?
yeah, you could definitely hear him the way he was beating her, and and you could see the marks afterwards. She definitely had marks.
And in that occasion that you were talking about in the defense exhibit, which is in evidence, it was because Mira wouldn't admit something to him?
Yes, he kept going on and on. I forgot what it was. I think it was if she was using a hairbrush or something because she wound up getting lice. Who she got the lice from, whose brush and stuff that she was using. And he wouldn't stop, and she's like, I don't know. And he would not stop until she came up with some kid's name. And it was on for hours.
And is this something that you witnessed with Mira one time or more than one time?
There's more than one time, not just particularly with Mira, but with all the children. It's just whoever was doing something bad that day or who he thought done something bad that day.
And this information that you witnessed these things and saw marks and bruises on the children, you gave that to law enforcement right from the beginning?
Yes, ma'am.
And I think you mentioned they actually came to your house when the children were missing, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Because law enforcement had learned that you had been a babysitter along the way and actually had a relationship with them. So there was a hope, maybe, that the children were in your house and that they were safe.
Yes, ma'am, but they neglected to tell me that they already had the kids. They already knew they were, and so I don't know what the whole reason was about, because they woke up my kids at 3 a.m. and kicked down my door and saying that they found him but no kids.
All right.
And then
Did you know at the time that he had made some false statements to the police that the children were safe back in South Carolina?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I didn't know any of that. All I know is what they wrote on there saying that they knew where the kids were at that time when they did it.
So the relationship has progressed now in December 2012. You're living with him. During that time with Ballentine, was he using drugs and alcohol?
Smoking marijuana, and he would drink.
And when you say he would drink, what kind of alcohol would he normally drink?
Mostly Crown, and then Smirnoffs here and there.
And when he would drink, where would he drink?
In his room.
Now, were there times, do you know where he was getting his drugs from?
No, ma'am. I was never with him when he got him.
Were there times that he would disappear from the home while you were there with the children?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us about that. What you know about
He
that.
would leave out at night and stuff and sometimes stay gone until 3 a.m. He would keep his door locked, padlocked. It was just different times, but it started getting more frequently towards the end. I don't know what it was all about. He would say he was meeting up with friends or, different things.
All right. And when he would buy drugs, would it be with you or without you?
When he bought them, no, it would be without me. I never was with him when he got them. He would show up home with them.
Okay. And one of the things that law enforcement asked you about was, does he have any mental or medical problems that you know of?
No, he definitely does not.
And one of the things that you had described is that there were times you would hear him mumbling to himself.
Yes, it was mostly him beating himself up because he forgot something or he done something wrong or he was mad at the kids. He's like, oh, why do they got to keep doing it? Stuff like that.
Right.
That was the mumbling. It wasn't, oh, hey, what's up? Oh, no. It wasn't nothing like that.
All right. You never heard it appear as if he's talking to someone who's not there.
Yes, it was never like that.
It appeared to you as if he's talking to himself.
Yep, or sometimes when he was in his room, it was like he was on the phone or something. I mean, I'm not 100% sure on those times, but I'm pretty sure he was on the phone. He always had his phone with him.
Was there ever a time, Ms. Ballentine, that you felt that he did not have touch with reality?
He was always with reality. He was always progressive on getting what he wanted done, making money the way he wanted. If he wanted an extra job, if he wanted extra income, he was always very sure about himself.
And he was a planner?
Yes.
Was there ever a time that you had to tell him where he was or who he was?
No,
He
ma'am.
was always aware of his surroundings?
Yes, ma'am.
And one of the questions you got before was about going to church. Did he have very stiff beliefs about what he felt was right and wrong?
Yes, ma'am. He was seemed very religious. We read from the Bible. The church that we went to, it was like speaking in tongues. People did flop around and stuff like that. And always dress code. You had to dress a certain way. And he was all, very sure on guys providing the money and women being nurturers, having children and being a parent.
And at that time you were 17.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were relying on him for your income.
Yes, ma'am.
So initially, did you go along with these ideas that he had about women?
Yeah, I mean, I put on dresses. I did what I needed to do until I finally got enough of it.
And when you say you got enough of it, tell us about that. What led you finally deciding that you weren't going to be in a relationship any longer?
One thing was him being so controlling. I didn't even have a mind for myself to do anything. Another thing was discipline actions towards my child that wasn't even a year old, trying to whip her. One time he wrapped her up too tight that I don't agree on. And because she wouldn't go to sleep that night. It was a lot of things that led up to that point.
All right.
It's just the final draw was him trying to whip her the last time, and I was gone off with friends at the time. And I come home to him the way he was acting, and I just left.
All right. And when you say that he tried to whip Trinity, she was not a year old yet?
She wasn't even a year old. She was just now holding on to things, walking. She knocked over a drink or something, and it looked like he went to go try to whip her, and I said, no, and I grabbed her up, and he didn't get to whip her, but it was leading up to that point.
Is there any doubt in your mind, Ms. Ballentine, that he always knew what he was doing?
He definitely knew what he was doing. He knows what he did when things happen. I'm pretty sure of it. And he still knows what's going on.
And when he would talk to you or express to you his feelings about what was right and what was wrong, did he ever seem to not know the difference between right and wrong?
No. He knew what was right and wrong. He knew about God. He knew about what you should do in life. He was pretty sure of himself and pretty sure of everything.
During those times that you say you heard him talking to himself, was that also during the time frame that you knew him to use alcohol and marijuana?
Yes. And, you know, he would be pretty buzzed. He liked his Crown, and everybody knows that liquor gets you drunker quicker. And he would get buzzed quite a bit.
Nothing further.
Ballentine, did he tell you about his mother?
Yeah, I've heard about it.
What did he tell you?
That she was in a crazy place. About as far as that went. We didn't get into much detail about his family.
Did you describe him as being depressed most of the time when you were there?
Yes, he was depressed. I could tell he was with the divorce of his wife and everything. He was still trying to settle being a single dad. I mean, he was depressed.
Thank you, Sponsor.
You're welcome.
Please step down.
Thank you.
Vince Paul, Sergeant Black. Sorry, that's my part.
Once you're seated, state your full name, spelling and last.
My name is Sandra Black, B-L-A-C-K.
Good morning, Detective Black. Still waiting. I'm going to skip ahead to you work for the Lexington County Sheriff's Office,
Yes, sir.
and were you working for the Lexington County Sheriff's Office in September of 2014?
Yes, sir.
And did you interview Chrystal Ballentine?
Yes, sir.
And you wrote a report about your interview with Chrystal Ballentine?
Yes, sir.
Is your report complete, truthful, and accurate?
Yes, sir.
Did Mr. Ballentine tell you that around March of 2013, she heard two voices coming from Mr. Jones's room? When he was the only one in the room, she said he was not talking on the phone or watching TV, but she heard two different voices coming from the room.
Yes, sir.
Is that what she told you?
Yes, sir.
And you put that in your report?
Yes, sir, I did.
After talking with her, did you ask her to write a statement?
I did, yes, sir.
And did she say that she couldn't write a statement?
She said that she would, but she couldn't write it and asked me if I would write it for her.
And did you write it for her?
Yes, sir, I did. I told her I would write it for her, but I would only write what she told me exactly as she told me.
Okay. I'll show you what's in evidence. Says defense exhibit number 267. Ask you if that's the statement that you wrote for her.
Yes, sir.
You wrote it as she told it to you.
Yes, sir.
On page 2, the third line down, did she tell you that Tim started talking to himself? He would have conversations with himself?
Yes, sir.
Did she say sometimes he would talk to himself about what he needed to do, what the kids needed to do? It was like someone said something and he would answer them.
Yes, sir.
That's what she told you?
Yes, sir.
At the end of the statement, did she say he started acting like he had mental problems?
Yes, sir.
Talking to himself and being obsessed about the kids, studying everything?
Yes, sir.
But he was never diagnosed with mental problems that I know of.
Correct. Yes, sir.
And those are Chrystal Ballentine's words written in your hand.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Detective Black. So I'll trust that.
And Detective Black, you were talking with Chrystal at what time of day or night?
I don't know the exact time.
Did you have that on your report?
I don't believe I have it on this report what time it was. I have the day that was September 9th, but I don't have the time.
Do you remember that it was during nighttime hours?
I really don't recall. It may have been. I don't recall, though.
And where were you, Detective Black, when you wrote this statement?
When I wrote the statement for her, I was at 191 Blackville Road in Gaston.
Her house.
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
So her house in the middle of the night sounds right to you?
Her house, yes, ma'am. I'm not sure the date, the time, though.
And during this time, she had been woken up by law enforcement, correct?
No, ma'am.
Do you remember those details?
No, ma'am.
So when you're writing the statement for her,
Yes, ma'am.
you're asking her about everything she remembers about Timothy Jones at this point in time, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And she's giving you a whole lot of information, which
Ye-
you're including in this statement.
Yes, ma'am.
She's telling you that they met when she was 17. About 2 months later, she moved in with him.
Yes, ma'am.
She's telling you that she witnessed him leaving bruises on the children, and you documented all of that in the statement.
Yes, ma'am.
She's telling you specifically about bruises that she witnessed on mirror in a specific event where he had left bruises on her.
Yes, ma'am.
She's telling you that he was controlling towards her and the children. I believe her words were Tim was very controlling towards the younger kids.
Yes, ma'am.
And then at the end, or towards the end, at some point, you start asking about whether or not he had any mental conditions, correct?
Correct.
And she does disclose to you that he was using both alcohol and at least marijuana at the time, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
She's telling you that he would usually drink in his bedroom, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
She'd go on to tell you that he would also use what she referred to as weed in his bedroom, correct?
You said referred to as weed?
Correct.
Yes, ma'am.
He would also tell the kids that their mother did not love them.
Yes, ma'am.
That's something you noted. That's
Yes,
one of the things you talked about that was important to her.
Yes, ma'am.
Let you know.
Mhm.
Tim would always tell the kids that their mother did not love them, that she was not coming back for them, and that she ran away with another man, correct?
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
And so, one of the things that you noted towards the end is he does not have any medical or mental problems that I know of, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
When you asked her, does it appear that he has any mental problems, the only thing she could think of is that she had heard him talking to himself in another room, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
She never told you about any hallucinations that he had, correct?
No, ma'am.
She never told you about any time he had a break with reality and didn't know where he was, correct?
No, ma'am.
She never told you that there was a time that he didn't know the difference between right and wrong, correct?
Correct.
just that he would use alcohol in his room, he would use drugs in his room, she would hear him talking to himself,
Yes, ma'am.
at least on one occasion, correct?
Correct, yes, ma'am.
Nothing further.
Yep. You may step down. How long is your next witness? How long?
30, 45 minutes.
We'll break now? All right, take a few minutes, have you back in here, don't talk about the case.